Caitlin Clark is out. Not due to injury, not for rest. She's just gone. Moments ago, the basketball world was rocked by reports that the WNBA has subtly sidelined its brightest star, and fans are in disbelief. But the real twist that dies the reaction from Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull, and they didn't hold back. Forget diplomacy. Their response was fiery, raw, and completely unfiltered. What they exposed has left the league facing questions it can't easily dodge. This isn't just a player sitting out. This is about influence, favoritism, media control, and a potential power struggle that's been brewing behind closed doors. The moment Sophie and Lexi broke their silence, social media ignited. This isn't just a sports headline, it could reshape how the WNBA operates from the inside out. And it all began with a subtle disappearance. First, Caitlin's name vanished from the starting roster. Then, she was absent during warm-ups. No injury report, no formal word from the league, just ... silence. And for the top rookie, a game-changer in viewership and fan engagement, this felt off. Speculation exploded online. Some claimed it was load management. Others hinted at internal discipline. But here's the thing. Clark had no missed practices, no major on-court struggles. In fact, she was thriving statistically and was arguably the league's biggest draw. So why take her out of the spotlight? Insiders began to leak troubling whispers. Behind-the-scenes tension between Clark and league leadership apparently hurt. Candid interviews, growing social media clout, and unwillingness to play the game made some executives uncomfortable. One report even claims she criticized the league's marketing approach as outdated, and that didn't go over well. Within days, her minutes dropped. Then she disappeared altogether. If the league hoped the public wouldn't catch on, they miscalculated. Fans did more than notice, they mobilized. The hashtag where is Caitlin trended immediately. Fans demanded answers, and even NBA players weighed in, calling the situation suspicious and damaging to the sport's growth. Then, Sophie Cunningham broke the silence. In a fiery post-game moment, Sophie skipped the usual pleasantries and said what many were afraid to. You don't bench your biggest star unless you're afraid of what she represents. The comments spread instantly, and Sophie continued speaking out across interviews, podcasts, and social channels. She called it what she believed it was, not strategy, but retaliation. She accused the WNBA of prioritizing control over progress and manipulating narratives at the cost of player careers. Her words resonated, and fans quickly rallied behind her. The hashtags stand with Sophie and hashtag free Clark began trending side by side. Lexi Hull added fuel to the fire the very next day. No prepared statements, no PR filter. She walked into the media room, looked straight at the cameras, and asked, if this is how Caitlin Clark is treated, what chance do the rest of us have? That one, quote, cracked the story wide open. Lexi later posted a photo of herself with Clark, captioned with one word: loyalty. Fans speculated whether it was a message to management, teammates, or critics. Either way, it struck a chord. Reports surfaced that Lexi has been one of the loudest voices inside team meetings since Clark's benching, questioning why the league's top ticket seller is being sidelined. Some say she's even organizing a quiet coalition of young players who feel boxed in by outdated league politics. Players afraid to speak up, but tired of being silenced. Adding more mystery, Lexi shared then deleted a tweet that read, "You don't build legacy by silencing the ones who create it." Screenshots spread quickly across Reddit, TikTok, and fan forums. Whether directed at executives or media downplaying the situation, one thing was clear: Lexi was no longer just reacting, she was leading a movement. Sophie and Lexi had just drawn their line in the sand, and the league, it was suddenly staring down a growing revolt. While players found their voices, fans didn't stay silent either. What began as a few bold statements quickly turned into a tidal wave of online resistance. As Sophie and Lexi made their stance public, supporters took to every corner of the internet. It wasn't just chatter, it was a digital uprising. Platforms like X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, and TikTok were set ablaze with hashtags. Hashtag Justice for Clark, hashtag Free Caitlyn, and hashtag Let Them Play. Sports forums exploded. WNBA content was flooded with outrage, and within a day, the internet had made sure this controversy couldn't be brushed aside. Fans became investigators. They collected game footage, timelines, stat comparisons, all pointing to suspicious decisions and apparent double standards. Clips showed Caitlin getting shoved without fouls called. Her playing time was mysteriously slashed, despite consistent, high-level performance. Screenshots revealed referees overlooking blatant fouls. Even the WNBA's own social media was scrutinized for cutting back on Clark-related content. But as fans demanded transparency, the WNBA issued a corporate-style response, sterile, vague, and frustratingly dismissive. It didn't name Caitlin, avoided the core issues, and called the changes strategic rotational decisions, urging trust in the process. The response: instant backlash. No one was convinced, players, reporters, or fans. The language of the statement only fueled speculation that this was damage control, not truth. The league's PR machine was clearly running on full throttle. Broad statements, no ownership, zero accountability. But this isn't the early 2000s. Today's fans are informed. Social media doesn't forget. And when you try to spin a controversy, you usually make it worse. Sophie Cunningham threw shade with just one emoji and eye roll on X. No caption needed. It went viral. Lexi Hull followed up with a repost and the words, "So we're pretending this is normal now?" The sarcasm hit hard. The message was crystal clear. We see through this. Even league veterans started speaking out. One former player tweeted, "You don't bench an MVP candidate without reason? Something's off." Meanwhile, numbers told their own story. Sales of Clark's merchandise reportedly dropped. Fans returned tickets to games she wasn't expected to play. Her highlight videos were filled with comments like, "She was the reason I watched." Empty seats became the new headline. Sponsors were watching too. Insider leaks suggested that some brand partners quietly asked for explanations before continuing. Promotion corporate talk for, "Fix this or we're pulling out." Despite all this, the league dug in. No clarification. No follow-up interviews, just behind-the-scenes scrambling while the public meltdown continued. What the league underestimated was the power of unity. Silencing one player only amplified others, and inside locker rooms, new alliances were forming. Tensions rose, players whispered instead of joked, trust frayed. The divide was growing between veterans and rookies, silence and defiance, protecting the league versus protecting the truth. But Sophie and Lexi weren't backing down. Just as the storm seemed to be settling, they reignited it live on national broadcasts. No sugarcoating, no carefully crafted PR spin. Just raw honesty. Sophie looked into the camera and dropped the line that shook the sports world. "If this is how you treat the player who built your league, no one is safe." The silence that followed said everything. This wasn't just about Caitlin, it was about every voice the league tried to quiet. Lexi backed her up immediately. "We've been told to stay quiet for too long. Not anymore." That was the turning point. The fear was gone. The silence was broken. The stars of the league weren't just playing basketball anymore, they were taking control of the narrative. Clips from the interview dominated social media. Support flooded in from fans, NBA players, and even rivals. Some reposted with captions like, "Finally," or "Say it louder." It wasn't just a moment, it became a movement. New hashtags began trending. Fans launched campaigns urging sponsors to stand behind the players or risk losing support. Independent journalists dove deep, uncovering years of internal politics, silenced voices, and players benched for speaking up. What started as a story about one player was now exposing an entire system. And at the heart of it all stood Sophie and Lexi, no longer just teammates. They were now the faces of a fight, much bigger than basketball.